we're driving by Hoffman today, and we see one of the railroad Canadian Pacific, and you can see the incredible long group of oil tankers that are heading to the eastern market. They just go on continuously, and so a train completely full of oil. Continuous policy, and I'll just focus out in front of the car here a little bit to show you it's got to be at least a mile long, and definitely a lot of barrel of oil coming from the Bakken today, right west of Hoffman.
You're watching Inform TV, Alexandria, Minnesota.
I'll give you a little idea today of the incredible length of this oil train that's sitting waiting for another train westbound, I suppose, to come through so they can continue to head to an eastern oil refinery someplace, and you can just see how incredibly long and mind-boggling volume of product when you start sending shuttle trains, 100+ cars of oil in the market, and give you a little idea of the factor it has even in our area here when we don't have a government that's smart enough to put a pipeline system in. This is what we face nationwide, and yet they talk about a carbon tax and those kind of things, and stringent regulations on coal-fired power plants that I'm not against, but at the same time, what are you doing about sending massive amounts of oil over rail lines when the reality, this stuff, these barrels of oil should be sent down a pipeline in a much more efficient way, and you don't have any pollution from a rail engine, that type of thing, and endangering the public or the environment if one of these derail, which they have, of course, been doing. West of Hoffman today. We're along the Canadian Pacific rail line. We're going to watch a oil train that's been sitting on the side track right west of Hoffman for about 2 hours almost, and they've come from the Newtown area, I think, in North Dakota, where they loaded. This particular train that we're going to watch leave, they were waiting for this westbound to come through first, and as you can see, it's probably got some empty oil cars on it as well. But the interesting thing about the train we're going to watch leave, there's 2 engines on it. a crew of just 2. It's got one car, a hopper car full of sand in between, as far as a buffer between the engines, the guy told me. And the train itself is 7,300 feet long, 7,300 feet, and it's full of oil from the Bakken, and it was loaded in that northern part of North Dakota. We can see the last one go by here now, and the westbound train, and we'll kind of watch as the eastbound train that's got 121 cars, 7,300 feet long, well over a mile, and they'll soon be leaving on the track, the CP track, west of Hoffman. I'm going to pan the camera down a little bit of this crew of 2. You can see down there I got a combination of LED screen as well as my eyepiece. He's down there at the Hoffman station. I believe you should be able to see the word Hoffman, and he's going to be throwing the switch here in a little bit, and they'll be pulling out with this shuttle train of crude oil out of the Bakken that's 7,300 feet long, 121 cars on this 3rd day of June here in the Alexandria Lakes area, western Minnesota. See, they're getting ready to pull out of the sidetrack here right west of Hoffman. A shuttle train of oil, 7,300 feet long, 121 cars, getting ready to head to the eastern market with crude oil from the Bakken. This thing pulls out the Hoffman area. Doesn't take them long to get her up to speed. I remember right, he says about 3 trains per day like this come through on this particular line. But he said if you really want to see oil trains, you got to get up on the Burlington Northern line. Another little interesting thing, I asked him, when did you actually pull off here at Hoffman? And he said about 3:30, and as I'm filming this right now, it's 5:40. So because we don't have hardly any both direction rail lines in Minnesota, this country, and they end up sitting for 2 hours before they're heading east again. And this guy also said that the only double track the CP has is from Milwaukee to Chicago, which is really sad in this reporter's viewpoint. We talk about infrastructure. We had Obastar, we had our friend Al Franken bragging about him. See, the reality, if you go back to 1974, when Obastar first came in office, we probably had more Class 1 railroads operating then than we do now, and yet we have this incredible growth in volume of many, many products, from farm products to crude oil being required to remove by rail now, and yet we haven't modernized the system. We've just made sure Warren Buffett and stockholders of the Canadian Pacific maximize their revenue out of a single track system. It's really sad today, people, when you think of it, right? Alan Repke reporting.
You're watching Inform TV, Alexandria, Minnesota.